Hi again, everybody. Welcome into an all-new episode of When the Game Ends. It's episode 41. Ben Holden, Mike Carmen. Carmi is he's not home, but he's still in the great state of Minnesota. Carmi, how you doing, and where are you?
I am good. You can tell it's a very different backdrop. Basically a window. I am down in Rochester. We were visiting family for the weekend, and then I have to travel for work next week. So Melissa's sticking around with the little guy down here when I leave tomorrow. So we celebrated my mother-in-law's birthday yesterday with some family, and just had a nice relaxing weekend.
Nice. Well, we chatted Thursday after your boys came to Michigan and won, so I know you're happy about that. So hopefully I wasn't. Hopefully I was right down the middle, like I always try to be on those games. I know you're able to watch Saturday, but they played hard. I think they're going to give State a handful this weekend.
It was funny when I said to Melissa when Michigan, because I didn't watch the first game, watched most of the second game, and Michigan scored, and you got all excited, and I think I leaned over to Melissa. I was like, "Easy, Benny, easy."
I brought the juice on the Gopher goals though too.
This weekend.
Yeah. Anyways,
you stayed down the middle.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's get to our guest. And oddly enough, I didn't know this until him and I were texting earlier today, that today is the first race of the IndyCar racing season. And that ties right into our guest. I've known this guy since we were 15, I think. Cam Howie is our guest. We were friends in Traverse City, great friends, went to high school together, played sports, and he was a pole vaulter. I was a hockey player, of course. And, you know, what he's done in his career is impressive, man. I mean, he literally, for his life, he's committed himself to protecting and saving other people's lives. 26 years he was with the East Lansing, Michigan Fire Department. He retired as a captain. And the tie-in is, for 10 years, he worked on the IndyCar safety team, pulling guys out of cars. And this is, to me, Carmi, this might be the most interesting one we've had of all these yet, because of what Cam did and because of the things he's gone through and the transitions he's had to make in his life. And he also owns a company that we'll get into as well. So just your thoughts before we bring him in.
Yeah, obviously, it's your guy. You've known him for a long time. I do not know much about him. I was trying to dig into the internet. He's like a ghost. Couldn't find too much, but
that's his style.
So I couldn't do my normal. I was trying to find something to stump you with. I'm like, Benny's known this guy forever. I got to find something to stump him with. But no, very excited to chat. Ultimate respect for the first responders out there, the firefighters, the police, everybody. So no greater respect in my mind other than the military, all those guys. It's so impressive what they do and sacrificing Benny for the country. So I'm excited to have him on, excited to talk and get some stories. I mean, he's going to have some incredible ones, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Not only from the firefighting days, but the safety team days for sure. So I'm excited to ask about that.
All right, well, let's bring him in. And there he is. He's up in the UP of Michigan. Look at this palatial place he's in, man. And Cam, I'm going to start with a text that you and I recently exchanged. It was for your birthday. You know where I'm going here, right?
I think so.
And the reply back to me was, "It's a miracle we're both still alive at 55 years old." Pretty cool, man. Great to see you, bro.
You too. That's a great statement. Nice to meet you, Mike, and good to see you, Ben, as usual. Thanks for having me on the show. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're excited.
We're just hanging up here in the snow. We got lots of snow this year.
I'm glad you're both still here too.
Yeah. Well, you got to show people. I don't want to give away where you're at. You're up there in God's country. Do you want to show us a little view of what you're surrounded by?
Yeah, it's a cool 13 degrees out here today. Sun came out, so let me spin around here. We just got a little bit of snow out here.
A little bit.
Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Oh, look at that, Carmi. That's some powder.
Like we said before we hopped on the call, I'm jealous of his spot up there.
That's beautiful, man. That's awesome. And you've
been it's a good spot up here.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'm getting up there this summer. You've invited me multiple times and I've yet to come, but I'm coming this summer. So let's kind of dive into.
I didn't tell you we're selling the place.
Let's dive into what you're doing now, man. We mentioned the stuff, and we're going to get into detail in what you did. And it got me thinking today. Like, all the years we've known each other, we've stayed in touch. We were very close in high school, and for some years after, before I left, and you went on your path. What's life like now? You're retired from firefighting after all those years. You're not doing the safety team anymore. You do own your own company. So what are the things that are front and center for you now in life after those things you did for so long?
Yeah, I think I'm still busy, Ben. I mean, I'm still running two companies. I own a safety consulting business, and then I own the H2TR with edge protection products. So I'm busy with that. Uh, some days I feel like I'm busier when I was actually working all three jobs, which I was at one time. But no, it's good. It lots me time up here in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which is where I belong in my mind. Uh, if I could stay up here full time, I would, other than June and July with the bugs. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's all good.
Carmi?
Yeah, that's like us. That's like northern Minnesota. It's beautiful, but when the bugs come out, it's brutal. So tell us a little bit about the company that you're doing now. So I was reading about it, and it's essentially it's a safety seal. I'm sure I'm not using the technical terms, but it's a safety seal that goes around like the manhole covers for people going in and out, equipment going in and out, protecting damage to people and property. Right? That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah, it's basically an edge protection device. You are correct. That goes inside of a manhole after you pull the lid. And what it does is it provides 360 degrees of edge protection for any personnel that's going into the manhole. Excuse me. It was designed and patented by myself because I designed it for us firefighters going in down in manholes doing rescues with our tech rescue guys. And then it just segued into the municipal world. So any contractor that's doing any type of fiber optic work through the manhole, through the jetter hose or camera lines or any of that stuff, they use my product. So it just went in a totally different direction than I thought it would, which was great for me. And that keeps me busy. We do a few expos a year. We just got back from Indianapolis. We do a big international expo there. We have I think we're up to like 44 distributors across the United States and Canada. And
Wow.
that's just, try to build that out every year. So yeah, it's fun. It's not as demanding as when I was working full time with the fire service and I had to be there, every third day. But yeah, it's good.
When you say it went a different direction, are you referring to like you initially had it designed for like first on the scene, first responders that are going in and out quick for safety, but other than like more so than a commercial usage? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, so when I designed it, I had the idea that I was going to sell to these fire departments all across the country for any of these departments that had tech rescue doing confined space entry. That's what it's called. And I did a couple rural water shows just to see if I get any traction on that aspect of it. And literally, I haven't sold to a fire department in over 12 years. It's just all municipalities, private
Wow.
contractors.
Wow.
Yeah, it totally went a different direction. I mean, it's been a blessing. I mean, because working your way through a fire department to try to sell the city something is tough. You might show up at a firehouse and say, "Hey, check this out," and they're like, "This is great," but then it's got to go to the training captain, and then the training captain's got to get the PO to get it ordered. And it's just, the municipal people, they see it out on the street where another contractor's using it. Like, where'd you get that? They'll give them the website, and bam, I direct them towards a distributor, and they got their product in a couple of days. And yeah, I have lots of customers that save them tens of thousands of dollars a month just in fiber optic damage to their camera trucks. So yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
That's so. It's funny. It's funny you said, Benny. One more thing, and I'll let you go here. But so I actually, in my day-to-day job, Cam, so I do medical device sales, but we do intubation and video laryngoscopy, and I work with EMS crews and paramedic crews. And it's funny you talk about that. It's like more often than not, it's like, yeah, it's a great product, but they don't have grant money at the time, or there's 17 levels of committees it has to go through to get approved. So I understand the red tape you're talking about, and from a commercial standpoint, how probably not only streamlined it for you, but it opened up your customer base as tenfold too, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's just the direction it's gone. Like I said, it's just been amazing. It's never thought it would. So,
all right, let's go back to the beginning,
awesome.
man. Let's get into how you did you feel like, I don't really recall, like back when we were in high school together, do you feel like this was what your path was supposed to be? Like what you wanted to do with your life?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting, Ben, because I don't know if you remember, but I was a volunteer firefighter up in
I
Grand Traverse
do.
County for years. My
Yeah.
my grandpa
Yeah.
was the chief. I really
Yep.
enjoyed that. I was, right out of high school, moved out to Colorado. I think you remember that. I lived out there for a
Yep.
couple of years and was a ski
Yep.
bum. And I decided to come back and try to grow up for a minute, which
Get a
never
real job.
happened. Yeah. So, anyways, I was going to LCC, and I was
That's
like, I'm
right.
going to be a pilot. So I went through aviation
I
program, got
remember
my
that.
private pilot's license. Yep, got my instrument rating, and I was in my second year. I was ready to go through commercial ground school, and my mom was an instructor at Northwestern, where I was attending
Yep.
college. And I
Yeah.
walked into her office, and I said, "I'm done flying." She goes, "What do you mean you're done flying? You're going to graduate. You're going to be a pilot." I said, "I said no, I'm not." I said, I'm going down to LCC. I'm going to get my paramedic license and my fire science degree, and I'm going to be a firefighter. And she just looked at me like, oh my God, we just spent all that money on flight time, whatever. But what I ran into with it, I really did enjoy flying. But what happened was there was this huge influx of military pilots getting out of, the military. And
Yeah.
so what was going to happen with somebody like me coming fresh out of school with literally no hours, I was going to
Hmm.
have to be a flight instructor for a minimum of 4 years to get enough seat time to get in with a commuter jet or what have you.
Okay.
And that's not a fun job flying around on a 172 for 4 years, teaching kids how to
Yeah.
fly. So,
Yeah.
the passion was always fire. And I knew if I wanted a good job, that I was going to have to be a paramedic firefighter as well for the departments that I wanted to work to, which were the bigger departments, in the southern Michigan area. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what happened with that. And then I ended up down in Lansing and went to LCC, got those associate's degrees, and then I just started applying all over the state. I mean, anybody that was hiring other than Detroit Fire, I applied.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I
Yeah.
did apply to Detroit Fire. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah, so
one of the
I,
go ahead.
no, I think it was.
Go ahead.
I don't. Yeah, it's not like the ring business where I just went a different direction and now here I was. It was like it was
Hmm.
always in the back of my head. I just thought, well, I might as well try flying and see if I like that. And I'm glad I didn't go that direction. So
Yeah. Well, so are all the people that you helped all the years. So, Carmi, one more for me on this, where we're at here now. So, one of the things that we talk with, in your situation is so unique, Cam, that normally we're talking to athletes, but in a way, I mean, to me, what you do as a fireman, that's incredibly athletic, and what you did on the safety team, there's athleticism. You can't be not athletic and be out there doing those things. So the question
right.
is, what are the things that you miss? Because Carmi was a pro hockey player, played at Minnesota, played 5 years of pro hockey. I can say in my field, the rush is putting on the headset and calling the game, right? So what are the biggest things
Yeah.
that you miss now that you've been away from that for a few years?
Yeah, so I miss most of all the guys I worked with, guys and gals. I mean, some really good quality people. It's definitely a brotherhood. You can't do that job and be an outcast. I mean, you got to work together. It's a group sport. It's not, police are totally different than firefighters, and I got a lot of cop friends, but cops pretty much work by themselves until they need
Mm-hmm.
backup. Where the firefighters, we're constantly eating together, training together, going on calls together. So it's just a different dynamic. So yeah, I miss the guys and gals that I worked with. I miss the big dynamic calls, especially when I was a captain. You were in charge of those, and that the decisions that you made, you had to live with those decisions that you made in a split second.
Mm-hmm.
So that's rewarding when you get those right. And I got a few of them right, so that was a good thing.
Carmi?
Yeah, it's like winning the big game. It's like winning the big game, right? I mean, and you talk about the team. I mean, that very much. And Ben, we've talked about this too. That the team camaraderie. Like, there's so many similarities between sports and everyday life too, and jobs like Cam's, where you have that unity, you have that togetherness, and that's what makes it
Mm-hmm.
special. And I think 99 times out of 100, you ask a former athlete what they miss most, it's the locker room, and that sounds like the same thing for
Yeah.
Cam.
Yeah.
My follow-up question was, so you retired as a captain. What are the stages on the way to being a captain? Like, what are some of the jobs? Like, I know you were the paramedic, but like, what were some of your tasks and responsibilities you had kind of progressing along the way that were maybe unique to you or unique in the process to getting to be a captain?
Yeah, sure. So when you hire in, I'll just use the department I worked for East Lansing. They had very high standards at the time for you to apply there. They wanted an equivalent of associate's degree. They wanted a paramedic license in hand at application. You had to have your fire science, your firefighter 1 and 2. So you go in there and basically go through the agility test, written test, oral interviews. It's a whole process. And once you get your foot in the door, of course, you're the new probie on the floor. So those are those can be some tough years doing probie work. And just like any team that you're on, you got to start somewhere and work your way up, and eventually you will. First I had fun. I had hired in right into Station 2 on campus, Michigan State University. So I was 23 years old and I was on campus. I'm like, this is a pretty good place to work. Scenery's good, It's like, that was an easy that was an easy transition for me. Firefighter by day, I'm not gonna say what else by night, but anyways, but I had
well, hang on. Let's not skip over the fun stuff.
Well, let's just say a couple females might have ended up in the basement of Station 2, here and there during a 24-hour shift.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyways.
We digress. We digress.
I wasn't going to push you any further on that. I wanted a little something, but we got it. We can keep going.
Oh no, everybody likes firemen, so that's a good place to work. That's all I can say.
Indeed.
Busy place, but a good place. So anyways, I always had, go ahead.
No, you go.
I always had aspirations of promoting. I just didn't know when I wanted to do it. I mean, normally you got to be there about 10 years before you can even start looking at, promoting to lieutenant, which is the first rank. The rank file there at East Lansing was firefighter, paramedic, then lieutenant, and then captain, and then you become a senior captain, and then if you want, you can move all the way up to battalion chief. And I was fortunate, retired as a senior captain. I went back to Station 2 for my last 3 years because that's where I hired in. So I was like, I want to end my career where I started. It wasn't quite the same in the basement, but it's still good. We were very fortunate at the time for me to leave there with a pension, and I was able to retire at 50 years old with 26 years of service. So,
wow.
Yeah, I've been retired 6 years, which is crazy. But that was, I guess, all along it was tough. There was some good days and bad days, and it was a lot of time went into promotions, a lot of studying. I studied harder for my lieutenants and captains tests than I think I did, 2 years of fire science school. I mean, because it's just so hyper competitive to get those positions. They use seniority and then written test score and then oral interviews, and they compile all that, and that's how you get your lieutenants and captains. So it's some departments are strictly based on seniority. So you get so many years on, you're eligible for lieutenant, let's say, and when you take a very basic test, and as long as you pass that test, you're going to promote. Where at East Lansing, you had to put the work in. So that was something that I really did like. It kind of, for that matter, kept some people out of officer positions that probably shouldn't have been in there. But it goes both ways, You can have some really smart people that aren't so smart on a fire ground. So
yeah, I want to ask you about that, man. I don't think I've ever really talked with you about that. Just like the mentality, man. I mean, I know it's, I don't know if you ever seen the movie Chuck and Larry with Kevin James and Adam Sandler.
Yes.
When he says going in alive, coming out alive, like I know that's part of the mentality, obviously. But like, I mean, you're dealing with life and death, man. Like that's serious shit. I mean, like just kind of give us a feel of what that was like and how you dealt with that and what was the mindset. I mean, I guess the mindset was what I just said, but just kind of take us into that a little bit. I'm curious to hear you talk about that.
I think, going into any fire scene is a hectic scene. It's normally a lot of times at night, poor weather conditions. So you have all these variables that are going on that you have to take into consideration. You got to be able to read smoke. You got to know what that fire's doing. The whole evolution of firefighting has changed dramatically since I hired in. And when I hired in, you just run in the front door and go do what you think you need to do. You weren't looking for access points. You were and you weren't. And now firefighting is, in my opinion, safer in a way that
Hmm.
we're not as reckless. Let's just say that as we probably were.
Okay.
We were running and gunning. That's basically what I called it. And
Okay.
running in there and doing what you got to do. Now it's more of a controlled environment where we're reading the smoke. We're doing a 360 around that house before we even let firefighters enter in that house to look. Hey, is this a basement fire we're dealing with? Or what are we
Hmm.
dealing with here? We have lot more resources that now that show up at fires. I mean, the best thing you can do with these scenes is just flood it with personnel. I mean, you cannot have enough people on that scene. But then
Okay.
comes you got to manage those people. You got to manage those crews so people aren't freelancing, so somebody doesn't get hurt or killed for that matter. But
Mhm.
I mean, I will say this tactfully. I mean, I was scared in every fire I went in when I was 24 years old. When I was 50 years old, I still, when I went in that front door, this could be the last time you go in the front door. You know,
Wow.
you never got complacent with those fires. Let's just say that. I mean, medical calls, because we run a lot of medicals,
Yep.
that's just something you get good at. That's just something that, the next cardiac arrest you go on, it's all procedural. You're following a protocol. You're doing, you've done it 100 times. Where every fire is different. It's a different construction. It's built differently. Modern construction to, back in the 60s and 70s. The fire loads now in these new houses are just through the roof. I mean, when they catch on fire, it's all the plastics, think about, look around your
Ah.
house, everything's plastic.
Yep.
It's not the old Tom Holden build where good drywall and studs. It has a lot to do with it, which made our jobs extremely more dangerous for that matter. I mean, just
Wow.
you didn't have the firewalls to stop stuff. And, if you had entrapment, people trapped up on the second floor, a lot of that stuff goes out the window because, rescues are our main priority. Putting out the fires a second. They're supposed to work in unison, which most of the time they do. But if we, had somebody in a house fire or whatever, we're doing that's pretty much, in my opinion, when people get hurt because we're pushing the envelope. We're probably pushing through things we shouldn't be pushing through. But there's that adrenaline rush. You meet mom out in the front door and she goes, Johnny and Jay are up on the second floor and I can't get to them. Well, we're going.
Oof. Wow.
It's like I
Yeah.
say, that job, 90% of our calls, I mean, you got to think about this. The average person wouldn't be calling 911 if they could figure it out. So when they call us, something's usually pretty dynamics going on. They need the resources, they need our training expertise to mitigate the problem. And I
Mhm.
mean, it's just kind of how it is. So,
Yeah. Wow.
Well,
Harvey?
like we were saying, or like we were saying on the way in or the start of this interview, it takes a special kind of person to do this kind of stuff, right? And the bravery to do that. And you talked about, being scared when you're 24, being scared when you're 50. I would almost think it would get, you may get used to certain aspects of it as you've been in the job longer, but I would almost think just based on obviously not fighting fires, but as you get older, right, you think about things differently. Like you put values on things differently. You think about what you have to lose, I feel like more than you would, as you get older than you do at 24. Did you feel that way at all? Or maybe it was almost an increased height of sensitivity when you're going into a fire? I don't know if I'm saying that right. I don't know if you
yeah,
understand what I'm asking.
no, you're right, Mike. It's definitely, the older you get, the smarter you get what you're supposed to, right? So
Right.
with that job, definitely, you've seen stuff go bad. You learn from your mistakes. You learn from other crews that made mistakes and got people injured or killed or however that works. Unfortunately, you learn a lot from that, and you think about those things next time you're going to do something. You're going to open up a roof, and you got guys down below. What's that going to do to that fire down below? And then, like I said, the technology has brought us just into a different level with firefighting. But yeah, I think definitely to answer your question, hopefully I am. The older I got, the less reckless I got, the more training I had for sure. So that definitely helped. When I was new, I was just, hey, do what you're told to do.
Yeah.
So, go in there and put
Yeah.
that fire out. Okay, that's great. Next thing I know, my partner in front, his helmet's melted. Our gloves are melted to the floor because the room flashed over on us. I mean, it's surprised we didn't burn up that day. That was right at a frat house in off Grand River. So, and I think that's another reason why a lot of us promoted was to make better decisions and safer decisions for the crews
Hmm.
because you knew you had training. The training was just off the charts. I mean, you could train every single day if you want. You can go out to the National Fire Academy. I mean, there's so much good training out there, but a lot of guys don't want to, I guess, overdo the training. And I always say, fight the way you train or train the way you want to fight, So that's
Mhm.
just one of those things.
For sure. What Ben, real quick, one last question on
Yep.
the fire stuff. What's the most common type of house fire you guys are running into, or what was the common start, like most of the ones you saw?
On campus, a lot of cooking fires that got out of hand. People come home at 2 o'clock in the morning, decide they can make mac and cheese on the stove, and they pass out. Next thing you know, they got a kitchen fire going that extends. A lot of electrical fires in the older houses. And 45, 50,000 MSU students there. I mean, they could be all over the board, storing gasoline in their bathroom or their, who knows. It's
In
all
their
over the place.
bathroom? You
Yeah.
saw that?
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Really?
5-gallon can in there. Oh yeah. Yeah.
What's the explanation for that? Or don't you ask? Or is that the investigators that come in and ask that?
Yeah, you just kind of shake your head and get the fire marshal there and go take care of this, will you? Yeah.
That's crazy,
Extension cords are a big one, Mike. Extension cords cause a lot of fires. So people, especially during the holidays, will double up on extension cords, and there'll be a lightweight cord, not the right gauge. And then the students, they'll run them under their carpet and then put their bed on top of it. And, that shorts out the cord. They're at Rick's Cafe all
Yep.
night party, and they come home and they lost everything. And a lot of those. So,
wow. He was also around
Yeah.
Carmi when Carmi, I don't know if you may not remember, but I was working up there then when the first riot at Michigan State happened. And Cam and I talked a lot during that because I was, trying to, unearth things, with what was going on there. And that was is that one of the more crazy things you've seen, or where does that rank, man, in terms of the stuff that you were around when you were working in East Lansing?
yeah, I was fairly new on that actually, and I was still riding. You ride the ambulance a lot, Mike, when you're
Yeah.
new. That's part of
Yeah.
being a probie. So you ride the ambulance a lot, and we got a call. I don't know, like 1 o'clock in the morning that there was some disturbance downtown. So we got right downtown East Lansing, and I mean, there's just hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of kids, and they're just going nuts. And I just remember calling back to my battalion or to dispatch and said, "Hey, you need to wake our battalion chief up and get somebody down here and get a grip of what's going on." And I think the first one, it just took everybody by surprise. And there was just they couldn't they didn't have the resources to control these kids. I mean, they're burning police cars and throwing bottles and looting out of stores, and then the cops started
Yeah.
throwing tear gas. And I mean, it erupted, and that's the first time I'd ever been exposed to that, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
So
it was nuts.
we took a
When
bottle
was
to
this,
the
Ben?
front windshield.
It was
So,
99. Cam,
90
it was 99,
was-
the Final Four.
Okay.
State lost in the Final
there you go.
Four, and the students went
Yep.
absolutely freaking nuts that Saturday night.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I was trying
Yeah,
to think when it was, but yeah,
it was the same-
I know it was 90 something.
It was the St. Pete Final Four. It was the first one Izzo went to, and you probably remember the clip, Cam, when Izzo stared into the camera when somebody asked him in Florida about what he thought was going on. And I mean, I've seen him, over the years, he's aged, obviously, and his tolerance is lower
Right.
for bullshit anymore, right? But at that point, I think that was the most pissed I'd ever seen him. He was not happy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he was
yeah,
pissed.
rightfully so. I mean, it's
Yeah.
So yeah, that was something that I hadn't been exposed to, and
Right.
that was kind of scary in itself because normally, you're dealing with drunk students and they can be assholes. We all can when we're drunk, but
Yep.
this was a lot of anger and a lot of rage. And normally the kids, they love firefighters. We're always good to them.
Yep.
They're kids, but they were vandalizing fire engines, busting our windshields out of our engines. I mean, it was a bad deal.
Yeah.
So
Well, and you're not trained for that, right? That's not what you're I mean, you talk about all the training and preparation for fighting fires and dealing with medical emergencies. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not trained on riot control, right?
Correct. So no riot training at that time whatsoever. And we were called initially because the cops were getting it handed to them.
Hmm.
They were getting hurt and getting punched and throwing bottles at them, and they didn't have all their riot gear around because, like I said, this thing kind of erupted out of nowhere. So they got caught with
Hmm.
their pants down. And then when we're treating these cops, they started throwing gas. Well, we didn't have gas masks, so we're getting gas trying to treat the PD. And so yeah, it was a shit show that night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did
That's
you,
an
how did
appropriate
you,
word.
yeah. How did you deal with stuff like that? Like you and I we talked the other day, you called me, hey, what are we getting into on this thing? And, just so you knew where we were going. And, how did you deal with those moments, man, when things were like really hard mentally? What did you do? And how did you get yourself through it? And how did you get yourself out of those kind of situations?
Yeah, I think I always relied on my training for what I needed to do next. I always have a backup plan. I don't care where you're at. If you're on the highway on an accident or whatever, you got to have eyes in the back of your head. You're
Hmm.
in that riot situation with obviously totally not prepared. Protect yourself, protect your firefighters that you're with. I think that night finally we just said, we got to lock this down, and we need more enforcement in here, and we kind of tried to protect our own. Kids
Hmm.
were doing their thing before it really escalated and somebody got hurt or
Yeah.
severely injured. But yeah, I would say training got me through a lot of stuff. I mean, I don't know if you're going down the road of PTSD or you're going just what it's like,
Yeah.
26, well, 30 plus years of dealing with that. I
Yeah.
kind of see I kind of see it this way. Obviously, most of us dealt with some pretty crazy stuff that, burned up kids, violent murders, you name it, mangled bodies in car accidents, just stuff the normal person does not see. And so, kind of my escape with that was I always had an out. Ben will know this. I was always a big mountain bike racer,
Yeah.
skier, auto sports guy, racing motorcycles, racing snowmobiles. So that was kind of my relief, how I
Hmm.
dealt with it. Like if I had a really shitty night or call, you know, I I'd go. I wouldn't go home and I wouldn't drink. I would just go to the gym. Then I'd go do something I wanted to do, and that would kind of clear my head. Um, I always told guys, you got to have an out. You got to have something that you can rely on. Don't just go home, lock yourself in a room, go talk to somebody if that makes you feel better.
Hmm.
Just you got to handle it, and if you can't, then go get some help. I the PTSD thing for me, I don't know how much I mean I buy into it because that's what it's labeled. They're making a bunch of money off it. I I go
Hmm.
down a road of LTSD, lack of it. So you think about
Hmm.
this.
Okay.
For 26 years, all I did was mitigate really shitty scenes where people were
Yep.
killed, where people were about to get killed, and you had to be that guy, calm, collective, based on your training, your experience to mitigate this problem, make this go away, right?
Hmm.
So when they take that away from you after 26 years of doing that, that's why I call it lack of PTSD because we thrive in that environment. That's us. So even my wife said, she said, you know what? And it was probably first couple of years. It was tough because you don't have that anymore. So she goes, "You're always
Right.
creating chaos now, Cam, because you like it and you like to be in that chaotic." But so not saying it's not saying it's right, but that's
Right.
that's that's what we do.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
what what
just
what
interesting take
what you're
on it.
describing almost
Yeah.
sounds kind of like numb, almost numb to chaos, almost numb to like the or not chaos, almost numb to like everyday life. Like nothing probably really got your blood pressure up, your heart rate up. Like everything was just kind of status quo, right? Is that kind of what you're
Yeah,
describing?
yeah. I mean, that's kind of what you had to be because if people saw you worked up, that doesn't help crew integrity. That doesn't help at the end of the day get the job at hand done. If they know their captain's all fired up, and there was some captains that got all fired up, and that didn't do anybody any good.
Hmm.
So I was always pretty
Yeah.
cool and collective. I get if you talk to any of the guys I worked with, they're like, no, he just kind of rolls at one pace, and you know, I guess if I got all worked up, it was maybe something that I did wrong, or I felt like I did wrong at the time. But like I said, those decisions with police and fire, split second decisions we have to make. Obviously, we have more uh, time to make decisions than police do, like in an officer involved shooting and what have you. But some of the decisions we make are pretty big, whether, you know, we pull people out and there's more fatalities to save firefighters, or we make the decision to keep doing what we're doing. Um, it's hard. I talked to some of these firefighters that, the captains, they lose 6 guys in an apartment fire, a warehouse fire. Well, at one point, that captain or that battalion chief's got to say, nobody else is going in. And that's a hard thing to do. You know,
Wow.
your 6 guys are gone in there, but we're going to make it 12 people we're going to kill today. So those are tough decisions that unfortunately in this profession or that profession I was in, you have to make. And I just
Mhm.
don't think like anything else out there today would really going to phase me. What I run across, I just kind of like, okay, like everybody says, do you stop at every car accident you see when you're driving down the road? I said, nope. Like I said, in the UP, I will, because we're out in the middle of nowhere here. I'll help.
Right.
See ya. I've done that, been there. Help's on the
Wow.
way, I'm sure. So not to
I mean,
sound cold, but it's just,
No,
yeah.
not at all.
Like just hearing you talk
You
about
d-
that, man, it puts so much stuff into perspective, man. It's like, whatever we do in life, it's like that. It's not that important, man. That's why I have so much respect for what you did, man. It's just, and to hear you really talk with us the way you are is incredible. It makes me have even more respect than I already had for firemen and firewomen and the cops and our military. As you know, I serve, so that's there anyway. But that's just powerful stuff, man. Really, really cool to hear you talk about it.
yeah, no, I appreciate you guys, bringing it up. I think, like I said, just everybody kind of deals with it their own way. And,
Mhm.
some of it's probably not right. Some people turn to, things that aren't good for you. And,
Yeah,
it's unfortunate.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah. Carmi?
So yeah, I guess. Well, I guess that's a kind of a good transition point here to talk about the safety teams and then the crew that you worked on there with the IndyCar racing, right? Because Ben was telling me a little bit, and then again, I was trying to do my deep dive to get some facts, and I was like, well, I'm not
He's a
finding
ghost.
anything specific on Cam. Yeah, I'm not finding anything
this
specific
guy
on
doesn't
Cam, so
exist.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. I just started watching videos of highlighting what safety teams do on the tracks and whatnot. And I'll be honest, I don't watch a ton of, professional car racing stuff, but it was pretty cool just watching the videos and seeing how, the quick reaction and what your guys' responsibilities are. So first, let's start at the beginning with that one. How did you get involved with that? And
Yeah. So
kind of go from there.
this is, this is another crazy Cam Howie story. Like this should have never happened.
He's got a bunch, Carmi. Trust me.
Yeah. I got hired. I graduated from paramedic school and I was testing all over the state for fire departments. In the meantime, I went back up to Traverse City and I worked for Northlight, okay, which is air ambulance service.
Mhm.
And there was a gentleman by the name of John Mall that worked up there. And this guy's never at work. I'm like, where is this guy? And then he'd show up to work. I'm like, well, where were you, John? Well, I was in Brazil. Okay, what the hell were you doing in Brazil? He goes, well, I was at the IndyCar race. Oh, okay. Like I'm thinking he's like a spectator or something. Then following month, where were you, John? I was in Australia. What are you doing in Australia? He's like, oh, IndyCar race. So finally, I'm like, tell me about this. So he told me, and he says, yeah, there's this elite safety team that's out there. It's called the IndyCar Safety Team. There's 27 of us. We travel all around the world. We take care of the drivers. We do extrication. We do all the medical. And I'm like, that's badass. I
Yeah.
said, how do I get involved in that? And John and I just became good friends working together up there. And literally, like 6 months later, he dined me up and he says, hey, there's going to be an opening next year on this team. There has been an opening in like 3 years. He goes, get me your application resume. And he goes, I'll get it over to the main boss. And I'm like thinking, okay. And I'm not thinking much of it other than, I'm like, wow, this would be a great opportunity. Right. So I get hired by East Lansing. I'd been down there for, I don't know, 6 months. And I get a call from the president of IndyCar safety team. And he's like, hey, he goes, I got this resume in front of me. And John Mall says I need to hire you. And I said, I'm your guy. He goes, can you be in Australia next month? Surfers Paradise for the first race. I'm like, Yeah, sure. No problem. What am I going to tell him? No. At
Twist my
this
arm.
time, Mike, I can't take any. I'm a probie, so I can't take any vacation time. I can't trade
Oof.
time with guys. And I just
Oh,
told this guy the most kick-ass job in the world that I'm going. So I went to my chief and I was able to work something out. And I went to Surfers Paradise in 1994 for my first IndyCar race, and the rest was history. It was a very unique, dynamic team of, yeah, like I said, 26, 27 firefighter paramedics from all around the country. I was the only one from Michigan. Uh,
hmm.
I brought one guy in from Delta Fire a few years back after I was on. But basically, it's just this group of different skill sets, but we basically were there every single weekend for practice, qualifying, and the race. We had these specially designed trucks with extrication equipment on them. We're sponsored by Hamato Rescue Tools, had fire suppression on them. We were able to work under the doctors that we traveled with all around the world and use all our advanced life support stuff. So monitors, drugs, ET tubes. I mean, it was pretty unique situation. And yeah, it was great. I traveled the entire world for close to 10 years, and it was definitely a highlight of my career to be able to do that. It was a special group of guys, and it was it was fun.
I mean, those wrecks are so intense looking on TV, and I'm sure they look even crazier in person. I mean, how often, as bad as they look, how bad are they more often than not when you're going in there? Like, are they pretty protected in there in terms of like the structure within the car that keeps the driver safe? Or, I mean, when those cars are getting mangled, is it more often than not the driver is pretty messed up too?
Yeah, so back in the 90s, the cars that I was working with didn't have an aero screen. Now they have an aero screen that protects the driver's head. So there was a lot of foot injuries back in the day. They didn't have the safer barrier walls, and what that is on the big ovals, on the high-speed ovals, they put a barrier between the wall so it cushions the blow, so it knocks down the G forces that the driver's taking on impact. So that all helped. But back in the day, yeah, we had some hellacious wrecks, and with anything else, safety evolves, and it's evolved in that sport tremendously. I mean, it's just very safe car. The tub's all carbon fiber in there. Now, like I said, bringing on the aero screen, that's protecting a lot of drivers that were killed and severely injured from head penetration, from whether it was the fence they hit or whatever they got into. So yeah, that's evolved a lot. But yeah, the wreck are the wrecks at 225, 30 miles an hour happen extremely fast. And even when you're watching them in real time, you're just like, did that jet just crash? What just happened? I mean, it happens so fast. And I saw tons of them, and I was just like, what are we walking into here? And a lot
Hmm.
of drivers very lucky, but some not so lucky, and that's the unfortunate thing about it. But that's racing, and I say that about any type of racing. If you're willing to put on that helmet and do those speeds, that's just the inherent risk you take. I don't care if you're on a dirt bike. I don't care, hockey player, football player, whatever. You have that risk. Oh, it's there. Is it a little more going 220, 230? Yeah, probably. But
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I
You sent me a bunch of pictures, which I got to tell you, man, the reel that when we put this reel out later tonight, man, after we record this thing, it's gonna be in my top 2 of reels I've done
oh, cool.
because of the pictures that you've sent me. There's one with you with Paul Tracy, who back in the day was one of the best drivers. There's pictures of the safety team, and there's one that caught my eye this morning, and I want you to share this story. Anyone that knows racing, if you're familiar with IndyCar racing over the years,
Hold
knows
on.
the
It's
name.
not Danica beat me up, is it?
No, you got to tell me
It's
that
not
story.
Danica.
Well, maybe you
Yeah,
should
we
tell
need
me
to hear
that
that
one
one,
now. I had a
Okay,
run in with
so
her, but I didn't get beat up by her. I was in the media, of course. Go ahead, tell that. Then we'll
Okay.
follow up.
So third year, excuse me. Third year, I'm gonna
You're
have to
good.
plug in here. I'm not prepared. Sorry. Let me plug this thing in. I knew this was
So
gonna
just
happen.
just to clarify while we're waiting here, we're talking about Danica Patrick, correct?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, we're
yes,
talking about Dan.
Okay, just
I need
making
my
sure.
charger.
yes.
This is
Danica
dead.
Patrick. She wasn't very kind when
Yeah.
she was in her. Maybe she got better later. I'm sure Cam could tell he was around her more, but in the beginning, it was not kind to be around her.
No, I'm
So,
gonna need a
Really?
cord or something.
so we'll
Yeah,
we'll
so let me get plugged in. Sorry about that.
you're good, man. You're good.
All good. Dude, I'm
Yeah.
recording on a cell phone because of technical difficulties right now. You're all
Yeah,
good.
whatever you got, Lise. I gotta
Yeah.
get my IT people out here.
Yeah, you got to give your wife proper credit here, Cameron.
I know. I do. Yeah. So anyways, I'm in.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm in Long Beach Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Awesome place to be. It's a street course right downtown Long Beach.
Yeah.
One of my favorite places to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on safety one that week. That's 4 safety trucks. It's race day. And at that time, Danica was racing Indy Lights. Okay. She hadn't made the big team yet. So she's racing Indy Lights for Ray Hall. And they come down the front straightaway, they make a hard left, and she gets punted into the tires and the wall, whatever, and she's broke. So they dispatch safety one, get out there, get her off track. So I go running out there. My position was I would go right to the driver, get in their face, make sure they're okay, and then, say, hey, we got to get out of here. So long story short, she starts arguing with me that she's not going to get out of the car. Well, the front suspension is totally junk. The wrecker's already in or out. And she starts arguing with me. So I said, Danica, you need to get out of the car. You're broke. No, start me. And I'm like, no, you're not starting. So the worst thing you can do to a driver is go down there, unbuckle their harness because they can't see with their helmet on to put it all back together. Now she's pissed. So I grab her by the epaulets on top of the safety suit and I go to pull her out. Well, she's like kicking and swinging and everything else because she wants to go back out and motherfuck the guy that put her in the wall. So race control's in my ear the whole time going, you need to get her off the track. And I'm like pulling her across the track. And long story short, this is all on TV, national TV. So when I get back to the fire station, you got your ass handed to you by Danica, didn't you? So that didn't go over well.
Wow. So I could find that on
YouTube. I need to see this.
Yeah.
I need to see this.
Nobody can find it.
It's hidden. It's buried in the annals of time.
I don't believe that.
That's amazing.
I have my task for the night to go find this.
That's incredible, dude.
So she was sponsored. I don't know who the sponsor was, but she was out of all the Myers, right? And she was like the Coca-Cola or whatever. So every time I'd come to work, something like that'd be in my locker. At the fire station.
Sounds like a hockey team you were on, man.
Yeah. So it was just, I'll never live that down. Cam got beat up by Danica.
Wow.
So.
I never knew that. I never knew that. Thanks for adding that one.
Well, I don't go around telling everybody that either.
I get it. I understand. We talk, but we don't talk that much. So
right.
I want to ask you, as we were on the track there, I wanted to get to this story about Alex Zanardi.
Sure.
I think I'd interviewed him like 2 months before, because didn't it happen around 9/11? And it was like as if we needed any bad news. Like that happened like a week or two after, I want to say. But there's a picture that you sent me that was incredible. Alex Zanardi had lost his legs. He was in a car accident. You weren't working that event. He lost his legs. He came back. He wanted to finish the race. You pick it up from there, man, because I think that's an incredible story. I didn't know the detail of it.
Yeah, so fortunately, I was not at that accident scene, and that was a tough one on the IndyCar guys. I mean, that's about as bad as it gets, other than ultimately death. Those guys definitely saved his life that day. They took off their own belts. They applied tourniquets to both his femurs. They saved his life on the track. I mean, if you look at the pictures that are still on the internet, I mean, that was a gruesome scene. He would have bled out right there and died. So, anyways, I was in Minnesota for my brother's wedding. That's why I wasn't there. But then I can't remember, Ben, it was the following year, 2 years later, whatever it was. Zanardi obviously made a comeback, and they built him a car that he could finish his last few laps in Germany at the racetrack where the incident happened. So I was there for that. And that was, I was happy for Alex. He was able to do that. I'm sure mentally that was huge for him. On our part, it was probably a little, sketchy, because we're just thinking in our minds, well, what happens if something goes wrong with the car? What happens if he crashes the car? He's made all this improvement. I mean, it's just, you're thinking of that as the safety guy. The fans are going crazy. They're loving this. Sure, Alex was ecstatic that he could do this. I mean, obviously one of the most talented drivers I ever worked with. I mean, the guy was amazing. So that was an unfortunate thing, and he's definitely had some mishaps since then. With cycling, getting hit by cars and close. Yeah, he's had a rough go. So best to Alex for sure. Yeah,
I want to follow up real quick, Carmi, on that. Like, talk to us about, obviously you guys, when these drivers buckle into those cars, man, like you guys could be the ones that save their lives, I should say. And I'm sure there were cases where that happened, but the relationships you had with some of these guys, man, can you share some stories of some of the guys that, you were closest with, or just some of the ways those guys interacted with you guys on the team?
Yeah, the safety team was really tight with the drivers just because we knew them every single weekend. You know their wives, you know their girlfriends, you know their medical history. Um, you're with them every time they're in the car. They're not getting in that car unless we're there. The
Yeah.
team, my boss, Lon, was very well respected. We always had a great relationship with the drivers. I mean, snowmobiling with Al Unser Jr. out in New Mexico. How fun was that? Got to do
Nice.
stuff like that. Got opportunities to do movies out of that job. Did a movie with Stallone. Just did Hyperdrive, Netflix racing drifting movie. So, yeah,
Cool.
I mean, driver's a driver. It's never the driver's fault. It's always car's fault. Just remember that.
Right.
Some breaks.
It's like a
They
golfer.
don't finish well.
It's always the equipment.
Yeah.
It's never the guy.
I was just gonna say it's like a golf club.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So, no, those 90% of those drivers were great. Some of them, they're,
As we heard,
they're
yeah, some not
privileged.
so
Let's
nice.
just put it this way. Yeah. So, and now she's doing
That's good,
commercials. Good for her.
I have.
Yeah,
I
understand.
I have a question covering the day-to-day aspect of that job. Like, and this is kind of random. It might be a stupid question, but it's got to be a little unnerving. Hey, that yellow light, if the yellow light comes on, right? Like there's a crash. You guys are already on your way, I'm sure. It's got to be a little unnerving going out onto the racetrack because you guys are just like, I got to get to the car. In the meantime, there's cars going by 200 miles an hour within the vicinity. How does that all play out? And has there ever been any close calls that you've heard of or been a part of?
I've been a part of
Carmi.
multiple close calls. Yeah, that's a crazy spot. So it goes both ways. So on a big oval, if there's any type of crash debris, they automatically throw a full course yellow. So everybody's behind a pace car, right? The issue what would happen with that is we're out there taking care of the incident, cleaning up oil, getting the driver out of the car or whatever, rendering care to them. The rest of the crew is trying to get the track ready to go. But what happens is that pace car's got them all at 80 miles an hour, right? The field. But what happens is if those cars come in and pit under yellow, especially on a big 2-mile oval, when those cars come back out and they're about to go green, those cars might be going by you at 180 miles an hour because they want to catch that pack. And you're standing there literally 6-10 feet away. So if you ever have a car go by you that quick, it definitely,
That's nuts.
yeah, it wakes you up. But I will say this. Yeah, I will say this. I'd rather stand on an IndyCar track any day of the week than be out on 127 in Michigan on a car accident. Because those guys, they're professional drivers. They know what they're doing, okay? Highway safety as a firefighter scared the living hell out of me. Just too many firefighters, paramedics killed out on the highway for no reason. People on their phones, people gawking, looking at the lights, whatever. So, yeah, we had a few incidents. We were working an incident in Elkhart Lake. That's on video. Look up. I think it's. I don't know if that was the Miller car or whatever. Anyways, we're working an incident. We're trying to get the driver out of the car. Driver comes down, locks up his brakes, ends up on top of the Indy car while we're working on the car.
Yeah. I remember seeing that.
Like that. Yeah. So, wow. I mean, stuff happens, Yeah.
Yeah,
here
that's
we are.
actually
Fun
crazy.
stuff.
In hindsight, now the way you describe that, it actually makes sense. That like it would be more nerve-wracking with a bunch of amateurs on a highway than professionals on a racetrack. But that's crazy to think about. That it's more dangerous to be on a public highway than it is with a guy going by you 180 miles an hour on a racetrack. That's wild. I can't even picture what that feels like. That rush going by you.
Yeah, it's just pretty impressive to say the least. But absolutely, I'd stand on a super speedway any day of the week than be out on a highway.
I gotta ask you, man. Indy 500s. How many did you work?
So that's an interesting story. So we didn't. That's when.
Is that when the split happened?
Yeah, that's when the split happened. But we never did safety for the 500 because they had their own safety team.
Oh,
we never did it. No, we never did. They had their own in-house safety team, so we always had the month of May off, which we loved. It's like,
you did?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Wow, okay. All right. Yeah. I remember that now that you mentioned that.
Now that the IRL safety team has their own, where it's an AMR safety team now, they do Indy and they do all the races. So yeah.
Okay. And like we said when we started, you're obviously, you're still a fan, man. When we texted, you're like, yeah, I just flipped on the race, so I flipped it on. So you still stay connected to that sport and follow it pretty strongly.
Oh, religiously, yeah.
Yeah.
I record it, so if I'm out of town or whatever. But I like IndyCar and I like F1. Those are probably my two favorite racing. I like Supercross and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like following it. Yeah, I know all those guys. I worked with them.
Right.
Know the families. Now the kids are racing. Mario's. I worked with Marco and all those guys. So it's I don't know. I just feel like, hey, I'm glad to see the kids are doing good. They're racing. Yeah. They're good people.
Well, yeah, I think there was another picture that I'd asked you. I said, is that Bobby Rahal? Of course, his son. So you probably saw him grow up, right?
Graham.
Guys like that, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool, man. Carmi, what do you think, man?
Yeah, that was actually
what? Go ahead. I'm on a lag. Go ahead.
No, I just said that was Bobby Rahal's last race, and he wanted to get a picture with the safety
team. That was
cool. Yeah.
Dude,
It's called Bobby's last ride.
I hope you got some of this stuff framed, right? I mean, you got a wall somewhere. With
you know what?
Stuff?
The problem is, I don't know where half that stuff went, because when you're doing it, you don't care. That's the unfortunate thing. You're just like, oh, okay, whatever. It's, I don't know.
Well, you need to get some of those framed, man. Seriously, that's pretty awesome stuff, man.
Yeah, that was a good run. Like I said,
what made you stop, or what caused? Or was that the same time that you retired, like from firefighting full time? What made you stop doing the car safety?
Yeah, so there was a couple reasons. One was the safety team, CART and IRL split. There was a big split up between the two series, and so there was about to be another series taking over the safety team. I was tired. I was, been doing it for 10 years. I was traveling all around the world, coming back, repaying guys at the fire station to work my shift so I could be gone. It just got to be too much. It's just enough's enough. I was, like I said, that IndyCar race was like a traveling carnival. We're going to come into your town. We're going to put on the best show in town, and then we're out of there Monday morning. See ya.
Yeah.
It was no particular reason other than just slow down a little bit, and see if I could save a marriage. Which
that's
so
got it.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it's tough on that, man. Traveling and stuff
both ends like that.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
Well,
got to have somebody that understands your lifestyle.
I apologize. I have an awful lag.
Yeah,
I have an awful lag, and I'm butchering. I'm interrupting, and I apologize to both you guys. It's bad.
It's all good. I got the sun blaring in on me, man. We got all kinds of issues. So, Cam, I guess we'll kind of throw it this way. We'll to avoid any further technical stuff. One of the things we like to kind of close out with is, advice to people that you've obviously made more than one transition in your career, doing multiple things and doing well now with your business, as you told us in the beginning. Any advice or any input for people that are maybe coming near the end of their career, the end of the line, and maybe how to prepare for that?
Yeah, I think just from the start is basically whatever you're going to do, be the best at it. Okay, don't do it second best, do it best. You want to be the best, right? And when you get out of there, you want to know you did everything you could to do it right, the best of your ability. And if you leave hockey, fire, police, wherever you're leaving, broadcasting, you did the best job you could do. And that's a pretty good feeling to leave a profession and feel like that. And I do. I have no regrets, So I
love it, man.
I tell people, younger firefighters, just, if that's what you want to do, that's your career path, go do it. What's holding you back?
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
So.
Carmi?
That's a great message. I mean, the not leaving anything back, not leaving anything, I guess left uncovered, not leaving any doubt, right? Knowing that you did everything it's a good feeling to have. And when you don't have that, we talk about transitions with everyone. That's again, the premise of this podcast. And those are the hardest ones when you A, don't have a plan, or B, know there was still more in the tank. That is not a fun place to be in. So that's really, really great message. from you there. It applies to everything.
Good. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's just the way I look at it. Maybe a lot of people don't. I'm sure they don't, but that's kind of how I took, leaving. I was going to stay another year and promote to battalion chief, and that's the best thing I ever did was getting out of there. So,
Right on, man. Well, cool,
Yeah.
man. Well, we appreciate you stopping by our little podcast, man. This was really cool, man. Really enjoyed it, and the stories you shared and the things you went through, and friend to friend, man. Thanks for all you did all those years, man, and protecting people and saving lives, man. Because we need more of that in the world, man. It takes a special breed of person to do that, Cam. So, really, really proud to call you a friend, and now call you a guest on our podcast, brother.
Hey, thanks a lot, you guys. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go back to snowmobiling. I still got some daylight out there. Nice to meet you, Mike.
Go rip it up, dude. We'll talk to you down the road, man. So, Carmi, go ahead.
Guys. Thanks again.
Nice to meet you too. And nice to meet you too. And thanks for rubbing it in. Thanks for rubbing it in on the snowmobile.
Yeah, no worries, man.
We'll see you down the road, Cam. Thanks for joining us, man.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Have a great day.
Too, bud. See ya. All right, Carmi. So there we go, man. That was pretty cool, right? I mean, I really enjoyed that. And, again, I've known Cam since we were 15, and, we drifted apart like a lot of people do in our older years. And, but we stayed in touch, but, we don't see each other nearly as much as we did, obviously, when we were kids and going to school and riding to school together, listening to Boston on the way to high school and all the crazy stuff we did. So it was really cool to have him on.
Yeah, anytime you get to catch up with old friends like that, it's great. And we'll have some coming up on mine, and we've had a couple in the past too, guys I've played with, where it's like it feels like even if you don't stay in touch on a regular basis, whenever you do get together or talk, it's like it's like you pick up where you left off, and it's so great to have those relationships with people. And he was a very very enjoyable to talk to, very forthcoming about a lot of crazy stuff, which was some great stories and some incredible stories to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say how much I appreciate the men and women that do that here in our country. And, I thought it was interesting too to hear him say, at 24, I was scared. At 50, I was still scared. I mean, I'd be scared too, right? I mean, that's a special breed of person. So, man, I just thought we'd put a bow on it here and let Cam get out on the sled there, man. So where he lives is absolutely spectacular. It's beautiful. It's Pictured Rocks area of the UP, if you're familiar, and it's not far from Lake Superior, and it's just a gorgeous spot. I do have to get up there and see him this summer.
Yeah, I was gonna say no excuses out of you, and also don't be soft. You're like, I'm gonna go up in the summer. Winter sounds like just as much fun. I picture it being like northern Minnesota. Any time of year up there is a great time to be up there. Yeah,
I got another buddy that's in the Sioux, so I need to make that happen next year, man. Well, cool. This was fun, and I know we're going to take next weekend off. I think we talked, so we'll get something going the next week. And always great to see you, man. And we'll get this thing up and out on the socials, and hopefully people enjoy it. It's a great episode. We can't thank Cam enough for joining us. So for Carmi, Benny saying thanks for watching episode 41 of When the Game Ends. We'll see you next time with an all new edition. Thanks so much for watching.